Call the Design Adjustment Committee meeting to order. I have an introduction to read before we get started. The Design Adjustment Committee's purpose is to establish clear and measurable review criteria for the consideration of major deviations from the city's technical standards and specifications manual. The Design Adjustment Committee does not consider the housing type, cost of the proposed unit, occupants, building material, unit size, number of bedrooms, or the architectural design of the structures. These hearings are quasi-judicial evidentiary hearings. That means it's like a court hearing, and the committee's decisions are constrained by the standards in the ordinance and based upon the facts presented. All variance requests require a 4/5 vote of the committee. Appeals of the committee decisions are to Superior Court. The parties in these cases are entitled to an impartial board. If a board member has a fixed opinion on the matter, a financial interest in the outcome, or a close relationship with the affected person, or has had any ex parte communication about the matter, please disclose that information to determine if a recusal is necessary. City staff will introduce a proposed project to the committee, and committee members may ask questions. The applicant may present additional information about the project, and the members may ask questions. If anyone wishes to provide evidence at today's hearings, witnesses must sign in the clipboard in the back of the room and be sworn in. Because witnesses are to provide sworn testimony, please focus on the facts and the standards, not personal preference or opinion. When a witness comes forward to give testimony, please come to the podium, state your name and address for the record, and speak clearly. At this time, staff will administer oath for individuals who intend to provide witness testimony.
If I could have all staff applicants and anyone who wishes to speak to please stand up and raise your right hand. Do you swear that the testimony you're about to provide is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Thank you.
First item on the agenda is approval of the minutes from January.
Mr. Chair?
Yep.
I would like to make or propose a slight amendment to the minutes.
Okay.
On page 4, which is under item 1, the Havenet Galleria, the 5th waiver at the bottom of that page on page 4. We had some discussions at the last meeting about providing access for emergency vehicles and CFQA vehicles to the H property, which is not entirely captured in the minutes. And I just worry that, you know, when this goes back to TRC, that they don't have that clarity. So I just wanted to modify that to state that an additional condition that would provide adequate access for emergency and CFQA vehicles to public infrastructure at the H property.
Okay.
Changes have been noted.
With that adjustment, do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second? I'll make second. All in favor say aye of approval of the minutes with that adjustment.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. First item is the adjustment for the Wilmington Transload facility. Brian, do you have a?
Mr. Chair, before the city makes their presentation, Dennis called me yesterday and let me know that he did have a brief conversation with the applicant, but before he recognized that there was a potential, variance involved. We talked through it. It's not my opinion that matters. I really didn't think it rose to the level of a conflict, but I just asked that he disclose that to the board, which is required in our rules. I've also had a brief conversation about that with the applicant's attorney, but if it's determined by the board that there is a conflict, his backup is here so that we can have a full 5-person committee, but I would just ask that he disclose what that was, and then if the applicant wishes to speak on that, they certainly can.
Yeah, thank you, Sean. The applicant called me Monday morning, with some questions about the site plan that may have revolved around some comments I made on the site plan for TRC purposes. We did not speak about those specifications at all. I said I need to reach out to legal to see if I should be speaking to you about this anyway. He called back later in the afternoon with some general questions about the DAC process. If they get approval and do something of a lesser extent, would they have to go back through the process? I provided my opinion was that they probably would not, but to reach out to Brian Chambers if there were any additional, if he wanted some more clarity on the DAC process. So I don't think we we didn't speak about anything specific to the waivers or the site plan. So I just wanted to let everybody aware.
Okay. And Sean, what is the process for handling that? I mean, if we have an objection, do we ask for a recusal? I mean,
Yes, sir. If anyone on the DAC feels that rises to the level of a conflict, I would ask you to to briefly discuss it, and then if you feel that a recusal was warranted, then I'd ask maybe Dennis to make that motion. If you're satisfied that it's all right, then we can move forward. But I would like the applicant just to have a chance to address it as well.
okay.
We have no objection and believe that,
Mr. Vilkanowitz.
I'm sorry, I don't want to call you Dennis, I apologize, can be fair and impartial. But of course, it's the will of the committee, however you feel more comfortable.
Thank you. Anybody? I don't think there's any objection here.
Okay. Thank you.
Brian?
Good afternoon. This site is located at the corner of River Road and Raleigh Street. It's currently zoned IND General Industry, contains about 42 acres. It's currently vacant. The applicant has submitted plans for a 151,000 square foot transload facility. The proposed plan includes 3 driveway connections. There will be 1 tractor trailer entrance on River Road and 1 tractor trailer entrance and an employee entrance on Raleigh Street. The technical standards stipulate that a private driveway must not exceed 500 feet in length. The applicant proposes a driveway that exceeds that, and an adjustment is required. And if I briefly go back to the site plan, you'll see that the areas in red would be the areas that would apply to that 500 feet. The technical standards also specify a maximum width of a private driveway of 62 feet. The applicant proposes a maximum of 76 feet at the edge of the roadway, and an adjustment is required. The technical standards also specify the minimum driveway offset of a property line is 75 feet, and the applicant proposes a minimum offset of 9 feet and 64.1 feet, and an adjustment is required. I think there's a typo in number 7, so I think it's just the 9 feet, so I apologize for that. I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have. I also have some slides that show the actual driveway designs, if you need to have those up on the screen, and the applicant's prepared to make a presentation as well.
Any questions for Brian? Thank you.
Thank you.
Does the applicant wish to speak?
I have a presentation as well, but I'm pretty sure it's exactly what Mr. Chambers just put on the on the plan. Amy Schaefer, I'm here with Lee Case on behalf of the applicant and the property owners, the Ports. With me, I have Mr. Chris Hayes from SPH Wilmington, as well as Justin, he just told me how to say it, Zidema from Alliance, and they'll be happy to answer any technical questions that you have about the project. So this is just a rendering of what we hope the new Port City Logistics building will look like on the site. The site. Here are the waivers requested. The site plan, as you can see, the employee parking is completely separated from the truck traffic with no interconnectivity, and it meets all of the city standard requirements. So the main variance waiver that is requested would just be for the truck traffic, and there are 2 locations. So there's an entrance and an exit on 2 different rights-of-way, so there is good flow for the traffic through the site. We do have a lot of wetlands on the property, which kind of impact the way the building can be designed and set, and we're trying to impact that as minimally as possible with the site design. And again, just some pictures of the driveway standards, and this did not show up this way when I played it, so we'll probably need Mr. Chambers for that. And again, I do have the experts with me, and if I can just ask them to come up and briefly speak and get certified as experts. And Justin, if you could just say your name, the company that you work for, and your credentials, please.
My name is Justin Zadema. I work for Alliance Consulting Engineers. We are the civil engineers of record. I am not personally the civil engineer of record, but I work directly under the North Carolina licensed engineer of record, Dan Roman, and represent.
Sir, can you stand a little bit closer to the mic? Sorry.
I'll just start over. My name is Justin Zadema. I work for Alliance Consulting Engineers. I am a registered licensed engineer in the state of South Carolina. I work directly under the engineer of record for this project, who is a North Carolina licensed engineer. His name is Dan Roman. He was unavailable today, so I represent our company.
And you have complete knowledge of the site plan and the design? And we would just tender Zadema as an expert.
Hi, my name is Chris Hayes, represent Port City Logistics. Been involved with Port City Logistics for upwards of 3 years. We have helped them with a location here in Wilmington and are very excited to kick off a project for them.
And again, we're just here if the committee has any specific questions, we're happy to answer.
Is there any questions for the applicant?
Regarding the waivers, yeah?
Yeah, I assume that's
Yeah.
talk.
Okay. Big industrial area, lots of trucks. I see 2 of the waivers are based on the width of driveway. Based on the information that was presented, you guys are asking for some wider driveways to accommodate the truck turning movements. It looks like on some of the truck turning movement diagrams that I'll specifically the one on Raleigh Street. I don't know if you can put that on the screen, Brian. In the upper left corner, that's the Raleigh Street truck drive entrance. I'm seeing a right turn in and a right turn out.
Yes, sir. That's correct.
Is that the intended path of trucks on a normal day-to-day operation?
So on the normal day-to-day operations, the majority of the traffic will be entering from the left-hand side, making a right-hand turn into the site, exiting the site, taking a left-hand turn, going to the left of the screen, as you see here.
Okay.
So that right-hand turn was provided more so just to show the off case of someone needing to take a right-hand turn to accommodate for that.
To me, I would get a little more comfort based on what we'll see on the River Road driveway if that were also shown, to show the interaction of a right-turning truck and a left-turning truck at the same time.
I believe we did show that on the other slide.
I believe that's the River Road driveway, is that correct?
The one we're looking at right now is River Road. Yes,
Correct,
sir.
so that's showing a left turn in and a right turn out, correct?
Correct.
Okay. The Raleigh Road driveway.
Sorry, I apologize. Left turn in, right turn out.
Correct, yeah. The Raleigh Road, Raleigh Street driveway is showing a right turn in and a right turn out. So it's not showing that conflicting
Correct.
truck
Correct.
traffic. So in order to make sure there's going to be safe ingress and egress from the site, to me, it would make more sense to show the movements that are going to be occurring at the site
Understood.
and any impacts to the public roadway of those movements. So I don't know how to address that at this
Is,
level.
I apologize, is that something we could further investigate through future TRC reviews? Or is that something that you would need to see to feel comfortable with the waiver requests?
I think that one could be handled through TRC.
We'd be happy for that to be a condition, that that be shown on the next TRC submittal, if that would
Okay,
help.
okay. Along those same lines for the Raleigh Street, you mentioned if for some reason a truck needed to turn right out of there, is that, I'm trying to envision, I mean, this looks like a facility that serves the port, you know, to and from the port, you know. Providing that width of a drive, you're asking for a wider driveway because we've got you know, 2 right-turning trucks. Could that be considered also at TRC? I mean, are we really going to have trucks turning right out of there? Could we narrow the width of that driveway at all?
Do you want to speak to the operations?
You're talking about the Raleigh Street
Street,
truck
yeah.
drive. You know, operationally, I think could have trucks taking a northbound right turn on Raleigh Street.
Okay.
I don't know if you were getting that a truck entering and exiting at the exact same time that they're not going to hit? Is that what your concern was, or just that?
At Raleigh Street, the right turn in and the left turn out, I would like to see that, those movements occurring simultaneously.
Yeah, and really the reason for the increase in driveway width, in our estimation, you know, when 18-wheelers bump over the curb and it gets into the grass, and then at the end of the day, you see somebody that goes in and puts boulders, you know, in that radius, it just isn't a good look. I think it's a better, cleaner look for our front door, essentially, for it to be, you know, kind of what we think is not a minimum, but just really what's needed there, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, flipping over to the River Road driveway, I'm seeing 2 vehicle paths there,
Yes, sir.
and in the justification, it mentions that the vehicle paths do not conflict with each other, that we're trying to maximize safety. You know, I've got a little concerns about trucks getting in and out of this site at this driveway at the same time. It looks like the right turnout vehicle completely crosses the center line of River Road in order to make that maneuver. It seems like some more technical work needs to occur to allow those movements to happen without conflict.
So as far as concurrent movements, the volume into and out of the site is so low that we do not expect any conflicting turn movements how we have it shown here. This is more so just to show what the possible vehicle tracking would be, not necessarily at the same time, but just in any given moment in time.
What was the hourly count? Do you remember that?
Don't remember it. It should be on our plans.
I don't know if it would help the board for us to talk a little bit about how trucks are scheduled to enter and exit the site, and how we monitor those things a little bit. If that would help, we could definitely talk about that a little bit more.
Yeah. So certainly inbound trucks are going to be coming in from the port, likely on the River Road driveway. And if I remember correctly, it was like less than 15 trucks per hour, you know, being inbound to our facility. So operationally, how this is set up now, the majority of the exits would be on the Raleigh Street side, occasionally on River, of trucks that might be going back to the port to keep them out of that T intersection at Raleigh and River. So kind of operationally, you know, to have a right out, left in, you know, configurations at both of those drives is pretty critical from an operational standpoint. But I mean, we see no concern of it being a bottleneck traffic jam of multiple, you know, trucks coming in at one time or all leaving at one time. Certainly, we don't see that, but we'd be glad to share the traffic study. And
I apologize. The peak hourly for AM and PM max is at 11 trucks per hour. So
So I mean, this is getting super technical, but I feel obligated to mention, you mentioned the traffic flow on your site, wanting to maximize that, make it as simple as possible. I've also got concerns about a truck stopped on River Road waiting to turn left into the site. So I was along the same lines of your thinking of maximizing the on-site movement of your trucks. Would you consider entering all traffic off of Raleigh Street and exiting all traffic onto River? So that, I mean, there's a left turn lane at River and Raleigh currently that the trucks could store in while they're waiting to make their left turn, make an uninhibited right turn onto your site, do whatever they have to do on your site, and then exit directly onto River back to the port.
I mean, operationally, you know, with that being a transload facility with, you know, 48 doors on one side and 46 on the other, I mean, it's, you know, pretty critical that a two-way flow there, but to limit us to only enter on one side and only exit on the other side, just operationally doesn't work for us. And we've had multiple, you know, internal traffic studies and operational studies on kind of how it works. But with the low truck count, you know, at peak hour at 11, you know, it's not a major traffic generator.
You know, the whole time I was just thinking, you know, we might be a way to get away from any variance at all if that one-way flow were considered. I mean, if you had an exit only onto River Road, I'm sorry, I mean, I wonder what kind of driveway width that would produce. Or if you weren't exiting trucks onto Raleigh Street, I wonder what that would do for your driveway. You know what I mean? Like, just, to me, it seems like it would work from the safety aspect of storing trucks on River Road that are waiting to get to your facility in a left turn lane, not in a travel lane. And then all of your on-site maneuvers would be in one direction, so that would be very simple for the drivers to understand that.
I do understand your concern. The company operates these transload facilities in multiple locations. So when it comes to operational details, they do have studies, they've done those, and don't know if that's feasible here. Another concern would be, you know, we could direct certain trucks to take a certain path, but there's no guarantee that they would, you know, follow that. And so then if they come down River Road and can't turn on, you know, then there's definitely a backup, and how do they go around and how do they get back there? So those are just some of the things that they've worked through up to this point, which kind of got us to the design that we're at.
Yeah. And back to the operation side of it, you know, the trucks that are inbound that are going to be transloaded immediately from a timing standpoint, you know, speed to market and all that stuff that's very important to the ports, and would be going to the building, right, likely using the River Street. Other trucks that aren't as timely might dwell overnight, you know, with just the, not the cab and people sleeping in the cab, but they might drop those trailers in the trailer parking that's down on the River Road, you know, for 2 hours or, you know, 10 hours, depending on when those products are needed to be sorted and shipped out. So it's kind of, that's the operational side. Sorry to be confusing earlier.
Yeah. I was just, my brain's turning on, how can we make these driveways smaller? You know, that's a big driveway, you know, and I understand we're turning big vehicles into them. Yeah. And I mean, the River Road, you know, I worry about the impact to just the normal traffic on River Road. You know, you're going to have big trucks turning out onto the road, you know. Anyway, I just wanted to ask if it was considered to possibly, obviously you've got operational reasons why you want your driveways the way you have them designed. Okay.
I have a real quick question. I have to leave the driveway design more to Dennis. But I noticed as it pertains to the 500-foot waiver, there looks to be below the employee parking, like a little gravel connection to the southern loading dock bulb. Is that, what is that?
That is for additional circulation for emergency vehicles.
Okay,
So
perfect.
we have a gated entrance with a Knox box there.
Okay, good. That was what I was getting at. So, and I mean, just, I'm pretty sure I know the answer to this, but just to put it on record, both of those loading dock sort of dead ends, I mean, they could accommodate all emergency vehicles, turn around. That's what the bulb, I assume, is. If it's sized for a tractor trailer, it would be a size for EMS.
Correct.
Okay. Yeah. And then, you know, as it pertains to the 75-foot driveway offset, is the justification on the River Road side, is it that sort of wetland finger that's projecting south? You're sort of pinched?
Yes,
Okay.
sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Is there topographic constraints there, or is it just the wetlands?
Wetlands. Yes, sir.
Okay.
And along that same path, I mean, it looked like you were 5 feet short of meeting the necessary distance from the property line. Is there, I'm just looking at what's on the screen, is there not 5 feet that could be reworked somehow to eliminate that variance?
We've already minimized the buffer along that wetlands finger as much as we can, as we comfortably can, to avoid impacts.
And by buffer, you mean what?
Undisturbed vegetation around the wetlands feature.
Okay. Okay, well, I'm sure we can have additional discussion, but we do have to open the public hearing. I'm sure we'll be calling you back up, so I apologize, but that's all the questions I think we had right now.
All right, thank you.
I will go ahead and open the public hearing on this issue. Is there anyone from the public who wishes to speak? Seeing none, I will close the public hearing. Which brings us to our discussion. I guess we could try and tackle these in order. The first one is the 500-foot max. Any discussion on that item? If so, do we have a motion? Or if not, do we have a motion? I mean, me personally, it's a very large parcel. You know, with the large pocket of wetlands there, it would be very, very challenging to design this site in such a way that they meet that requirement. So, I mean, they've got plenty of turnaround space, connectivity, you know, to all the driveways as best they can. I mean, I really don't see a problem with that one. Does anybody have any concerns or? All right.
I'll make a motion to approve the maximum length of a private drive to exceed the
Abby,
500 feet.
if you could talk into your mic, please.
Sorry. I make a motion to approve the waiver for the maximum length of a private drive to exceed 500 feet.
I'll second that, and I guess add the justification that I spoke of earlier. You know, the site constraints due to the existing wetlands, the large parcel, you know, and they're providing adequate connectivity amongst the driveways. So I'll second that motion. Any other discussion? All in favor of approval, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, waiver number 1 passed. My pages are all out of order here. Which one is number 2? What? Okay. So we're down to the driveway width discussion. I don't think we have anything in our technical standards governing the auto turn movements on these roads, and that's come up, I think, a couple of times in these meetings and potentially, I'm sure, at the TRC meetings, about what is the expectation of a design vehicle as far as when they make the turn, are they expected to be able to stay in the lane that they're turning into, or are they allowed, you know, the larger vehicles to utilize the width of the roadway and then sort of correct into their lane? That, you know, would obviously apply for mostly the, you know, the right out movement. Although it would sort of apply on the left, you know, the left out too, I guess. I don't know. I mean, in my opinion, it would sort of depend upon the volume of the road and the classification of the road. And in this case, River Road would have probably more traffic than Raleigh Street and be more of an issue if a vehicle sort of took more than their lane. So if we're looking at the Raleigh Street entrance, you know, I almost have more of an issue with it seems like the flare is more to accommodate, the most of the width and the flare is more to accommodate that right out, which isn't the design movement. Do you see what I mean? It's like, I don't know. I mean, it's obviously going to have to exceed the standard, but by the extent that they're showing, I don't know. And then the other concerns I had were, you know, sidewalk isn't, I think it's shown on some of these drawings, but sidewalk is typically required with these projects. And the wider the driveway and the throat, you've now got a wider crossing. So, you know, sort of one way to sort of accommodate that is to bend the sidewalk into the narrowest portion of the driveway, which could require easement. You know, that's one concern that I would have, you know, with if we do agree to a wider apron.
Yeah, and just what I was talking about earlier, in the applicant's justification for the Raleigh Street to make a right-end movement against a tractor trailer exiting the driveway without conflict, that was the additional information I was looking for. You know, they're justifying it with that, but not depicting it in any way.
You're saying on the Raleigh Street?
On the Raleigh Street driveway, which that can be a condition of this item.
That they show that the auto turn for the right in can perform that movement without conflicting with, you know, a stop vehicle at the stop bar, right? Is that what you're saying?
With the left out.
Okay.
The right end movement against a tractor trailer exiting the driveway without conflict.
Okay.
So it's with that justification that brings all my concerns
Sure.
of, you're showing me something on the River Road side
But
that
not on-
that is not true.
So, just with some of the comments that you all had, Mr. Gordon, your sidewalk, and we're happy to work through that. It's also my understanding that requirement might be going through a review process for industrial sites, but I understand that the code as we have it is as we have it. So if we need to bend the sidewalk or work through that, we're happy to do that. If it's the will of the committee, maybe we could phrase the waiver that, you know, it is approved conditioned on your turn, or, you know, a design review for, I'm going to try to paraphrase what Mr. Gordon said, you know, that the flare be shifted to, you know, another side, and that if that's something that you all could work through the technical review process, as long as we have, you know, even a range of what the waiver could be, if that's possible. If not, then, you know, if the committee would give us some other options, we're happy to talk through those and work through those.
Yeah, I mean, we would have to come up with some conditions on how to word. I mean, I don't have any problem if, you know, the auto turn analysis is presented and evaluated as part of the TRC process. Brian, real quick, where is this process within TRC? I know they've submitted for formal review, but they have not been given a construction release yet, right?
That is correct.
Okay, so we've still got an opportunity to review this.
Yes.
Okay.
So our condition could be that they meet the approval of TRC with the turning movements?
They present your requested turning movements as part of their next submittal to TRC
For their consideration?
for TRC's consideration and approval. I guess I was hoping to get some discussion on again, on the Raleigh Street side, that flare on the right side seems to be wider to accommodate that right-out movement. Now, looks like they're, I can't tell for sure because they don't show beyond it, but it looks like they're using all or most of the available pavement to make that turn. Is everybody okay with the sort of flare as they've got shown, even though that's not going to be sort of a primary movement? Does that, anybody have any concerns with that?
I always get concerns with vehicles crossing the center line in general.
Okay.
But
That's always my concern when you start seeing, you know, even though your truck traffic and so forth is what they had said what their peak hours is, when you're looking at tractor trailers that are going across the center line of oncoming traffic, it always makes me nervous about that.
Yeah.
That's something that, you know, it would be a concern.
Okay. Well, and I definitely understand the applicant's point about, you know, if we force them into a narrower throat and the tractor trailers are gonna do what they need to do. And, you know, we've seen some problems, you know, in other spots where that hasn't been maintained. So in my opinion, if that's what they feel like they need to show, even though it's not a primary movement, I'm okay with it as long as they can bend that particular sidewalk into the narrowest point of the, you know, of the throat. And I guess that would apply to both entrances from my perspective. That would be my sort of proposed condition of this, is that they, you know, redirect sidewalk to the narrowest point of I guess the driveway, and provide whatever necessary easement for that.
Mr. Chair, does it also appear on Raleigh Street that there's actually a gate at that entrance?
Good point. Thank you.
Which could, I'm not sure how that would operate, but that could cause traffic to be sitting on Raleigh Street.
Yeah, I
until
was
the
going
gate opens.
Thank you. I had meant to bring that up, if the applicant could address that, the function of that gate. Is it going to be open during business hours? Is it, you know, is it activated by a sensor or card?
Yes, so the gate that you see here it's actually has been shifted back a little bit further from this example. It provides approximately 70 feet of storage length that has been reviewed during the TRC process. The gate itself will be open during operations. This gate will be. It will also have a guardhouse just planned south of this sheet that you cannot see on these exhibits, but there will be a guard there to direct traffic as they come into the site. The majority of the traffic coming into the site will be coordinated between the facility and the port, so there should be no surprise visits from tractor trailers inadvertently entering the site. And then there is another gate along the River Road entrance. If we want to speak to gates as well, we can talk about that one as well.
So when would they be closed?
After hours.
After hours. And do you expect traffic during after hours typically, or?
I would rely on Chris, but Our understanding is that there will be no traffic trying to enter the site after hours.
Okay, so the gates will be open during essentially business hours, for lack of a better word. Okay.
Exactly.
If you don't mind, just speak to the River Road side as well.
So there will be I believe it's a sliding gate that is set off from the entrance. I don't remember the exact setback off of that, so I don't know how many feet of storage, but I know it's more than the Raleigh Street. So it will be ample storage to hold a tractor trailer there. And it will be automated, operated by, I believe, the guardhouse as
Okay.
well. Similar situation, though. All ingress and egress will be coordinated between the port and this facility for that entrance as well.
And it would be open during business hours as well? You said activated, so,
It'll be activated during business hours, opened as a truck is coming from the port inbound to our facility and then buzzed in from the guard gate.
So it's closed during business hours and only activated by the guard gate?
Yes.
I think that, I mean, I knew there was, I thought I saw a gate there on one of these diagrams, but that kind of brings me to my safety concern on River Road with ingress traffic directly from River Road without a left turn storage lane. You know, what if I work right down the street from here and there's an activated gate? It doesn't work all the time, you know, so I'm worried about those cases when a truck's wanting to turn left into there and the gate's malfunctioning for whatever reason, and now we've got stopped traffic on River Road. Or the truck driver anticipates the gate opening, starts to make his turn, is blocking River Road in both directions now, and the gate doesn't open, you know. I've got concerns about an actuated gate.
And that, I know that's something that we talked about at TRC, and showing that the truck can pull in at least to the down gate without being on the Raleigh Street or River Road. That's something that we talked about in the TRC meeting. And I believe that they've shifted the gates back to allow that to happen. So if for some reason, and if not, that's fully our intent and was something that was talked about at TRC, that the gates would be moved into our property sufficiently to allow a tractor trailer to reach that gate. And I think if you can kind of see the one up on Raleigh Street, it's moved down kind of diagonally for that to happen. That's the reason that gate is moved that way. And I'm sorry, I didn't realize that would be part of all of these conversations, or we would have had a little bit clearer plans for that.
So the gate on River Road is closed and opened for a particular vehicle or truck entering the site. The gate on Raleigh Street is open? It looks like it's a swing gate as opposed to a slide gate.
Yes, sir, that gate will be open. There'll be a guard gate within, 20 feet of that Raleigh Street gate.
Why does the River Road gate need to be closed then, if the other gate's open at all times during the business? Why does it need to be closed at
Because
all? Why can't it be open all the time and allowed?
There's not a gatehouse, guardhouse at that gate.
I'm sorry, can you just clarify again? I believe you said that the gate was closed during business hours and then the guard would activate the button? So who's activating that button then if the gate's closed on River Road?
It would be the guard gate on Raleigh Street during business hours.
So it would be Raleigh Street that's getting the messages to open that gate then?
Yes.
Okay, thank you for that clarification.
And the separation between both proposed gates and the roads, whether it be Raleigh or River, there's enough room between the gate and those roads to accommodate a design vehicle without overhanging into the road?
Yes, sir. And we've provided exhibits in the TRC process that we can provide to the committee if needed.
Okay. What other discussion do we have on this?
I don't know, I've got, when the justification of says no turning conflicts, I'm stuck on that, but if we can allow TRC to address any turning conflicts.
Okay. All right.
I mean, I heard, 11 in the peak hour, I mean, this was gonna be a constant operation of traffic. I mean, is there a peak hour of truck traffic?
The 11 vehicles per hour was the estimated max for AM and PM. I can get you the breakdown
Or at
between
any time of-
entry, exit.
Okay. Would that be at any time of the day? I mean,
I want to say that was the PM entry number, and I can get those numbers for you. But that was just the max number that we were looking at.
okay. I was just trying to figure out if this operation really has a peak, or is that just what the normal number of hourly truck trips are compared to the heaviest vehicular trips on the public road network? I mean, this operation's just, it's a normal day, right? They're just working all day. So trucks are constantly coming in and out. So it's probably 11 trucks an hour. Is that not just in the peak hour? You're not going to have a rush of incoming trucks in the morning and a rush of outgoing trucks in the evening, right?
To completely be honest, I cannot remember that traffic study, but I remember the peak number being, I thought it was 15, and Justin
Okay, 11.
corrected me
yeah.
that it was 11. So 11 at a peak hour. When that peak hour is, I don't know, but I would probably guess in the morning, peak hour entrance. And it would depend on, what the port's schedule is as well, if they're offloading a ship at that time.
Okay.
Yeah.
And just to note, that those values can be found on our site plan that the TRC has reviewed, so.
Anything else from the board?
Sorry, just to be clear, we're trying to understand. So the question is it 11 every hour? Are you turning over 11 trucks every hour? Is that what you're trying to get at?
That's kind of what I was thinking. Yeah.
Okay, so, I'm so sorry. We should have explained a little better. The way this works is a boat comes into the port, it gets unloaded, they schedule those. And so the ports will say, your truck is leaving, it's heading to your facility. The guard gate will get a notification that the truck is on its way. And so we have an idea, but it's going to depend on if the boats are slow or if for some reason, a boat doesn't get unloaded on time, or there's, the transload facility isn't operating at full capacity. So I think that's a little hard to tell. Mr. Hayes is going to take a look at the traffic study and see if he can find those answers for you a little bit more detailed. But again, that's just an estimate. So practically speaking, it's going to be a lot of scheduling with the ports and when the trucks are coming in. But the port does have a new system that automatically tracks those vehicles as they leave. And the plan is to get that information to the transload facility so that they're ready to move, when those trucks come in. I don't know if that helps or not, but again, they're trying to find that study to get you some more detailed information on that.
I'm trying to determine if the Raleigh gate's always open and there's a left turn lane at Raleigh Street, why wouldn't a truck use Raleigh Street to go to this facility? Like, what's the purpose
Right.
of entering trucks on River Road?
If that truck was not going to go to the warehouse building, if it was
Just to
going
drop
to
a trailer?
drop a trailer in the parking field, I guess, if that makes sense.
It does, but
And he would likely probably circle back out and exit River Road.
He would do a U-turn and come back out to River Road
Well,
somewhere on site?
he would back into his space, unhook, and then
Okay.
pull straight, and
Okay. So these are like two different areas. There's the loading facility and a parking facility.
you could think of it that way, yeah.
Okay. So some folks are only going to use the River Road, and some folks are only going to use the loading facility.
And some may use both.
So, okay. Okay.
Okay. Well, we need a motion. We need to take some action on this unless there's something else that we need to see before we're able to take action. And if there is, a motion made, if there's conditions, just we need to be pretty clear on what analysis is needed if we're going to defer something to the TRC.
Well, I mean, I understand it's a trucking facility and driveways need to be large. So I get that. In prelude to saying, for a design adjustment to make a motion to approve with the condition that the applicant provide all truck turning movements through to the TRC to review if sufficient vehicular clearance, as it's mentioned in the justification of without conflict, are accommodated to TRC's approval. The second condition would be that if it be necessary that the driveways be modified in a way but that the sidewalk crossing each driveway be placed at its narrowest location, if that requires easement.
Yeah, that was mine. Was that a motion?
Yeah, that was a
Are those
motion, yeah.
with two conditions?
Two conditions, yeah.
Okay. So is there a scenario where, and this is just sort of a question, I know we haven't gotten a second yet, but what if the analysis of those movements require the driveway to get even bigger? Is that, are we allowed to put that on the TRC to enlarge it a certain amount, or, because what if they can't make that movement without conflicts? Can we give the TRC a tolerance? I guess this is a question maybe for Sean. Can we allow the TRC a tolerance to widen it further if conflicting movements are found?
I don't have an issue with that. I think that's probably appropriate, given that they would need some discretion since they're going to be looking at the turning movements. I'd ask the applicant if they had any comment on that.
No, I think that's reasonable.
Okay. And I'm sorry, I know we're in the middle of a motion, and I hate to keep asking questions, but I do have one that I had meant to ask previously. The areas shown for trailer parking, is there going to be regular car traffic using those, or only tractor-trailer traffic? I know that you've got employee parking
Yeah,
identified.
employee parking would be separate. Would there ever be an automobile in that parking lot?
But it's not normal
I can't think
operations.
of a case there would be one, right? So it's going to be either just a cab coming to pick something up to leave, or he's coming in to drop something and leaving. It's not his wife's dropping him off at his truck that was overnight. Not that scenario at all, I think that was your question.
Yeah, and the reason I ask, I'll go further, is that the wider these driveways are, passenger vehicles, it sort of encourages them to take it at speed. If the speed limit's 40 miles an hour and you've got a huge driveway, you're gonna take that turn at faster,
Yeah.
which puts, potential safety, pedestrian conflicts, puts them into play. So, but if it's primarily or almost exclusively going to be used for tractor trailer parking, I have less of a concern.
I would feel good about saying exclusively tractor trailers on those drives.
Yeah, and I'm sorry to the board for bringing that up now. I had meant to bring that up earlier, so On that note, I'll make the second to that motion with the, potential added condition that the TRC has the ability to, what are we talking, 10%? I mean, we got to put a number on it. We can't just leave it open-ended, right? I mean, I think 10% is reasonable. We don't want to give them sort of we don't want these things to get out of control. But I would say the TRC has the authority to widen it up to 10% to resolve any conflicts found from the auto turn movements submitted.
Okay.
That's a first and a second. Any other discussion on that? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Brings us to our third variance, which is the driveway offset. There's not a lot of driveways on Raleigh Street. I don't really see an issue with this. I don't want to push driveways any closer to wetlands than they need to be. I feel like they've positioned that driveway, even though it's only 5 feet. Could they probably get another 5 feet and make it compliant? Maybe. But I don't want to, saying that, I don't want to encroach upon the wetlands any more than we have to. If there were conflicting driveways in the vicinity, it may be more of an issue, but.
I did have a question about the applicant, or to the applicant, about, I guess, this driveway. It may relate to this. I see in the diagrams, you've provided some horizontal site distance, site triangles for the River Road driveway. Was the vertical site distance looked at out there?
No, sir. No,
Okay.
it was not.
I know there's a crest to the left on this page, and I know there's a sag to the right, so to the right's not a concern, but I know there's a railroad crossing to the left, which is up on top of a hill. I would want to put a condition on this one as well, as far as to make sure the vertical site distances are checked for adequate stopping site distance.
Yes, sir.
We'll make that in the motion, but I forgot to ask that earlier. And in the justification of this one, it mentions the property's proximity to the River Road Raleigh Street intersection. I'm guessing this driveway's proximity to the River Road Raleigh Street intersection, and I was wondering what that distance was from this driveway to the intersection.
To the River Road Drive,
It says,
the first Raleigh Street.
How far is it to?
It says, as shown, the 70-foot offset's been provided from the property line to the nearest point along the curb. The property's proximity to Raleigh and River intersection prevents shifting the driveway. So I wanted to know,
If you allow me, I can check
Yeah,
the plan to
okay.
confirm.
You got it.
I didn't know if that was restricting the placement of this driveway or if it's just the wetlands. So is there a distance that a driveway has to be away from a street in the technical standards?
There is. I can't recall right offhand what that is, but I don't think they're anywhere near it.
It's
wouldn't-
approximately 650 feet.
Okay. And it just confused me in the justification as to why that statement was made. The proximity to the intersection doesn't seem like it applies whatsoever to this driveway, so I just wanted to get some clarification on that. Okay.
Any other questions of the applicant on this one? Any other discussion? I'm going to make the motion to allow the proposed variance for the property line offset due to potential conflicts with the adjacent wetlands.
Second it.
I would add the condition that the vertical site distance be reviewed through the TRC process as well.
I would agree to that condition. I don't know if we need to modify it in some way. Sorry. sorry, Dennis, you said it, and in my mind, I knew it, I just didn't incorporate it.
Rob, would you accept that as a modification to your motion?
I do.
And Mr. Elrod, Captain Elrod, would you
I accept it.
accept it as well?
Modification.
All right.
Sorry about that. Any other discussion? All in favor of approval with the added condition, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you.
Now, Brian, there were recommended conditions. We don't have to approve the overall plan, do we?
No, there's just adjustments. There's not a preliminary plan associated with this project.
Thank you. So, with no other items, I guess we are adjourned. Thank you.